Hey, it's Sam, and I'm making this video today about a very important subject in astrology that you're going to really enjoy hearing about. They're called Lajittadi Avasthas, but they're actually planetary states of joy or torment. And it's actually part of a larger group of what are called Avasthas, which are ways to assess planetary configurations. Today, I'm going to be talking a lot about the Lajittadi Avasthas. Lajjita just means shame, but it refers to a group of six ways of analyzing planets in a chart, which reveals a hidden sense of shame, pride, hunger, thirst, delight, agitation. And I'm going to be also talking about the other Avasthas quickly. I'm going to be giving an overview of what Avasthas are and giving some comparison and contrast as to why Lajittadi Avasthas are so special and whatnot. So it's going to be a very interesting class for you to check out, because this isn't something that you hear about every day, and it's definitely something that is a deeper, hidden, and very interesting part of Vedic astrology.
Please like the video. Clicking like helps a lot more than you know. It pushes the video higher in relevant video searches. Also, please leave a nice comment. Comments also help more than you know, as it raises the video in searches. Many times with hundreds of likes, there are only a dozen comments and they can be disproportionately negative. So be positive. Let me know if you like this. Even just a few words really helps. So subscribe, ring the bell to get notified of upcoming videos.
Yes, thanks for doing that. So again, as you see, this focal point of the video is going to be Lajittadi Avasthas, states of joy or torment. And this is part of a course that I am going to be doing here very soon, that I'm also going to let you know about. But as you see, it says this shame, pride, hunger, thirst, delight, agitation. These are the specifics of the six Lajittadi Avasthas, and we're going to read through each of the statements that shows the state of thirst, state of hunger, state of pride, state of shame, etc. Right, today, so you can see this in action. And of course, this is right from the classical text Brihat Parashara Sastra, the most important text in Vedic astrology. And in fact, one of the ways we know that Brihat Parashara Sastra is so special is because it actually has all of the five Avasthas in them. Some of the other texts, for example, have a few of the Avasthas. They'll have the Bala Avastha or the Jagrat Avastha, but they don't have all five. So Brihat Parashara has all of the Avasthas in them, and great explanations as to how they work, how to implement them and whatnot. So as you see here, again, Lajittadi Avasthas, planetary states of joy or torment. But again, there's a larger schema of Avasthas. There's actually five Avasthas that allow us to take a deep dive into planetary states of certain conditions. They're in an infant stage, which shows like an age of maturity. There's an awake stage. There's, again, these Lajjita stages of specific influences from other planets. But then there's also different categorizations based on their dignity, and then other complex calculations. And again, so as you see on this slide, it says, this is an overview of some classes that I will be doing, where I'm introducing people to the concept. But it says, take a focused dive into five specific Vedic evaluations: Baladi, Jagradadi, Deeptadi, Lajittadi, and Shayanadi, right? And so these are the five Avasthas. And as it says here, they focus on different facets of Vedic astrology. Many are things that you already know and things that you already evaluate, but when you look at them through the Avasthas, it gives a way to understand them that is more comprehensive. For example, as it says here, early or late degrees. That's part of what are called Baladi Avasthas. Bala means infant, and Adi means etc. So this Adi is just a way to name that Jagrad Adi. Jagrad means awake, so it's awake, etc. Lajittadi means shame, etc. Right? But then, for example, with exalted and debilitated planets, they're part of the Jagrad Adi Avashta. Combustion, right? That's one of the Deeptadi Avashtas. Planetary dignity, that's also very much included in the Deeptadi Avashtas. And also, as it says here, malefic influence, that's part of the Lajittadi Avashtas, but also benefic influence. And you're going to see how the Lajittadi Avashtas are quite different than the other ones, though, because they have a specialized application. And this is why I'm going to be teaching on the Lajittadi Avasthas first. They're kind of, again, they're sort of an outlier in that context because, they're not, all planets don't have a Lajittadi Avashta, for example, whereas all planets are in a Baladi Avashta. And I'll show you that in a second. But again, as it says here, the Lajittadi Avashtas are the states of sort of joy or torment based on friendly and inimical planets influencing each other. And so we're going to go over those statements as well. But again, it says, why are Lajittadi Avashtas special? Well, the reason they're special is because they're conditional. Again, it says all planets don't have a Lajittadi Avashta, but all planets are in one state or another relative to the other Avashtas. So you can look at the chart to see this. All planets are in a Bala Avashta. They're in a Jagrad state, but many do not have a Lajittadi Avashta. And so why is this important? Because it shows a specialized influence, not just a default state. They're kind of like aspects. For example, all planets aren't aspecting all other planets, but all planets are in a sign, they're in a house, they're in a nakshatra, but they all don't have aspects. So aspects are like a special thing. And that's what the Lajittadi Avashtas are about as well. So as it says, the Lajittadi Avashtas modify the state shown by the other Avashtas and also other influences. So for example, you could see on my chart here, I just pulled it up really quick, that in my chart, you can see that all of the, as it says, except for the Lajittadi column, which is highlighted there with that light blue, every planet is in a certain state or mood based on the Avashta. So you can see all the other ones are filled in. If you look at the sun across the top, it says Jagrad Adi Avashta, Swapna, Baladi Avashta, which it says Yuvashta, which is adulthood, and the sun does have two of the Lajittadi Avashtas. And then, but if you go down, like if you go down and you see Mars doesn't have any Lajittadi Avashtas. Neither does Saturn. Saturn doesn't have any Lajittadi Avashtas associated with it because it doesn't fulfill any of the conditions, which I'm going to show you the conditions in a minute. So this is why they're special and very interesting, because again, all planets have a dignity, so they have a Deeptadi Avashta. All planets have a, they're in a nakshatra and they fulfill the conditions of the Shayanadi Avashtas as well. So again, this is right from the text in Brihat Parashahora Sastra that outlines the Lajittadi Avashtas. It says, yet other Avashtas, because he starts talking about the first three. Three. And then he gets to Lajittadi Avasthas, or four. It says, yet other Avasthas, Lajit, Garvit, Kshudhit, Trushit, Mudit, and Kshobhit are the other kinds of Avasthas due to the Grahas. And then it says, placed in Putrabhav, if a Graha is associated with Rahu or Ketu or Surya, Shani, or Mangal, it is in Lajittadi Avashta state of shame. So again, this is what I'm going to be teaching in the course, breaking all this down. Putrabhava means the fifth house. A Graha means the planet is associating with Rahu or Ketu or with the Sun, Saturn, or Mars. It is in a state of shame. Interesting. Why would a planet be in a state of shame? And what does shame indicate? Now that sounds bad. Planet is in a state of shame. So how do we interpret that? How do we interpret if, Mars is in a state of shame or, Venus is in a state of shame? They're all different, right? you have to learn how to interpret this. And shame sounds pretty bad, right? I don't want to be ashamed. Shame is like one of these emotions that, well, that's one of the bad things. Bad thing. Uh-oh, okay. Your moon is in Lajittadi Avasthas, which, by the way, mine is. So what does shame show, and how is it shamed? And how is it different if it's the sun who is shaming the moon than if it's Saturn shaming the moon? And what can we learn from that? And how is that not just some bad thing that we need to overcome? What's creative about shame? Again, so these are the things, this is why we don't just read a sentence and just now, okay, I have a Lajittadi Avasthas on Venus. Your Venus is shamed. Okay, bad thing. So this is typically the way these things get interpreted or get talked about. Someone will maybe find there's these things called Lajittadi Avasthas, and then they'll pull up one of those charts and say, oh, my Venus is shamed. Okay, and then an astrologer will look at it, or you're trying to learn astrology, and you have this negative word associated with it called shame, and then you'll kind of say that, or you'll think that, and you're like, oh, bad thing. But that's not the way to look at it at all. This is a virtuous, powerful, transformative energy that is there. Again, my moon is in Lajittadi Avasthas. And again, it's also, we have to keep things in perspective. Just because now we know that there's a possibility that the planet can be shamed doesn't mean it's everything. It fits into a context. And that's why, frankly, you need someone who's been doing this for 20 years also to guide you through it. I haven't just started doing this, right? So one of the biggest mistakes that new students make is they lose perspective. It's the easiest thing for students to do is lose perspective and blow things out of proportion, not understand how to explain it, not understand the creative aspect of it, and realize that you or your client or most people are learning for themselves. You've been living with that your whole life. But what does it mean? What part of you is that? Because it's a very creative aspect, and I know exactly what it means for me. With that moon, which rules the second house, in the fifth house being shamed by Saturn, I know exactly what that means. Being ashamed of these kinds of things, but then also how that's been a very creative force. We live in a world now where there is no shame. Have you noticed? Some people need more shame. There's a thing that says, sir, have you no shame? So anyway, the creative aspect of that is also here. So again, what if it's the sun shaming rather than Mars shaming or Saturn shaming or Rahu shaming, Ketu shaming? So this is big. Now, again, that's the first of the Lajittadi Avasthas. And again, what if it's Mercury who's being shamed? What if it's the sun being shamed? What if it's, Jupiter being shamed? Because again, it's a planet in the fifth house with one of these other planets. So there's one that's going to be shamed and one that's going to be shaming, right? So this is what we're going to dissect over the whole weekend. That's why I say the Lajittadi Avasthas are very rich. And then the next one, if a graha is in exaltation or mula trikona, it is Garvit, state of pride. Okay, so planets that are exalted or in the mula trikona, which is the sign that it rules, the root trine sign, it's Garvit or proud. So again, that sounds great. Pride, good one. Here's a good one. Great. But sometimes you can do it too much. Planets that are Garvit, proud. Okay, pride can be taken too far, but what is the nature of that? How is that a creative influence? And by the way, you could have a planet that's proud and that's also shaming another one. For example, you could have a proud sun shaming Venus, like we just looked at, right? So all kinds of things are possible. This is why you have to look at the nuance here and understand that these subtleties are, again, this is why we don't just read it, we examine it and we go over it for a whole weekend. That's what I'm going to be doing in the weekend course. So you'll be able to examine and dissect all of this and examine these things. So again, simple thing. It's like, okay, exaltation, it's a mula trikona, it's in a state of pride. Good one, okay. But everything is in the interpretation. Everything is in the interpretation, not just in identifying the thing. And the next one, a graha is an enemy Rashi or yuti or joined with an enemy or receives a drishti or aspect from an enemy, or even if a graha is joined with Saturn, the Avasthas is Kshudhit or a state of hunger. It's hungry, right? So again, you'll have Saturn is depriving of food a certain planet, right? Not just Saturn, but it's joined with an enemy or receives a drishti from an enemy, an aspect from one of its enemies. Again, this is the temporal relationship between planets. They have a relationship with each other, right? They're friends or enemies. Again, this is why you see these states of joy or torment based on the natural relationship the planets have with each other, right? So what does this state of hunger mean? And it might be a nice planet that's depriving the other one of food. The thing that it hungers for, you have to think creatively here. This isn't, okay, hunger, food, okay? It's not just hungering to eat food. Every planet has a hunger for something. Mars has a hunger for something. It's hungry to do something. And it's not just fight, but it is to destroy. Mars is hungry to destroy. Well, that doesn't sound so good. Well, you better learn to destroy the right thing, because you're going to destroy things. Your nature is destruction. So how could Mercury starve or deprive Mars of what it hungers for? Right? Mercury, he's fun. How could he be so bad? Venus, good. The moon, how could the moon be starved, be an agent of starvation towards Mars? Mars is hungering for something. Again, the moon hungers. Jupiter is hungry for something. And these planets, these difficult energies, make it hungry and is depriving them of the food they want. So again, when we examine these things, we examine everything, all the planets, what they hunger for, and also what they are thirsty for. Hunger, thirst, again, these are very visceral things. The planets are thirsty for something as well. There's a hunger and there's a thirst. What's the difference? So it says if a graha is in a watery, Rashi means sign, and receives a drishti aspect from a malefic, but does not receive a drishti from a benefic, the Avasthas is called Trushit, a state of thirst. So it's also thirsty. Watery sign and an aspect from a malefic and no aspect from a benefic, it's called thirsty, a state of thirst. So again, the planets have a hunger and they have a thirst. And these are, again, what the Lajittadi Avasthas bring up. If a graha is in a friendly Rashi, or is joined with or receives a drishti from a benefic, or is yuti joined with Guru, Jupiter, it is said to be in Mudit Avasthas, a state of delight. See, this is Jupiter, Guru's influence. Any planet joined Jupiter is in a state of delight. It's, I'm with Guru, I'm with teacher, I'm delighted. But again, at times this is also, there are hindrances involved and whatnot. So again, but that is definitely one of the more joyful Lajittadi Avasthas. There's the Garvit, the proud, and then there's the delighted. But again, there's a difference. And again, you have to examine why. Is it in the state of delight? Is it in Mudit Avasthas because it's in the friendly Rashi, again with a friend, or is it joined with or receiving the drishti from the benefic, or is it because it's joined Guru? Because there are some ways that things can be delighted, but Guru might be a functional malefic, like, for example, with Venus. So they might be delighting in things that where they need a different focus, for example. And then there's a state of agitation. Graha is yuti with Surya, the sun, and receives a drishti from or yuti with a malefic. A drishti means aspect, yuti means conjunction. With a malefic, or receives an aspect from an enemy, it is said to be in Kshobhit. So it's not just joined the sun. That could make it combust, but it's also getting a difficult aspect. The bhavas occupied by a graha in Kshudhit, Kshobhit are destroyed. This is a state of agitation with the planets with the planet joined the sun, receiving drishti from or yuti with malefic, etc. So these avasthas, these 6 states of awareness, like I said, are very prominent. The shame, pride, hunger, thirst, delight, agitation. Certain planets are going to have these conditions. And again, you have to see them in context. It's not everything. You can't get overblown with it. And this is always the problem. And I see it kind of taught that way as well. I see people teach about it, and it's fine. But it's also overdone, overstated many times. Well, it's then tempting to obsess on this one thing and be like, okay, now that's the thing. That's it. That's the thing to focus on. That's the biggest thing in the world. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but it is a real thing. It is definitely there. You will definitely know it. And it's something very subtle. And it affects the planet as a ruler, as everything the planet is doing. Like with, I said that my moon in the Lajittadi Avasthas. You can see how the influence comes by what that planet rules. For me, the moon rules the 2nd house. Moon is also the indicator of mother. It's also in the 5th house again. And all this kind of stuff. What is it about the 5th house that leads to shame? Very strange, isn't it? What is it about the 5th house that leads to shame? For example, and again, what happens when the sun is shamed, when the moon is shamed, when it's Mars, when it's Jupiter? All these planets we're going to go through and analyze these states. There's a lot of possibilities here, right? So as you can see here in this last slide, I have this slide that has the overview of course that's coming up. And the course is on June 28th and 29th. Is that right? God, I forgot to put that on the slide. No, 29th and 30th. Everything on here but the date. June 29th and 30th. I'm teaching this course on the Lajittadi Avasthas. And if you can go to that website, lajittadiavasthas.com, you'll see that it is, you'll be able to register. It's not only that you get that live course. Again, this is also taught into perpetuity because there'll be access to the recordings for time immemorial. But if you get it now, while I'm teaching the course, you get a huge discount. And you also get a lot of great bonuses. The first is you get to pick a free course out of dozens of courses that I have. I have a page where I'll send you, get a one-time free password, coupon code to get any course for free. So you get an actual free course that you can use once. And there are dozens of courses that people have been like, oh, I want to get that one. So you can select any free course that you want. You also get, and these are available right now, you can get that immediately, the free course. You also get you get the session 1 from my 2022 certification course conference that was just with my certification course students, where I talked about this deep connection between how to integrate the karmic knowledge that floats down from the cosmics down into the psychological, down into the physical, and the current and the flow of karma and karmic energy and spiritual energy into life. Because this is really the connection that's lost. We are very aware of our of our material existence, that I'm this body and I want money and I want a girlfriend and I want a job. We know that part. But what does it have to do with karma that has flowed down from time immemorial and eons? How is it not just that that's also part of it? It's not that's part of it. That's the source of it. It starts with all of that. That's the point. And to not lose the thread. By the way, just like in this course, everything I teach, everything I say flows from that point of origin. That point of origin is the most important point. So that second bonus class that you get right now, it's actually 2 hours and 41 minutes. It was the opening keynote, 2 hours, 41 minutes of me explaining how karma filters down from the Atman through your job and your fingernails or whatever else that's as practical as it can get. The other bonus is in June 15th. And of course, if you're seeing this after June 15th, I'm going to be teaching a live class where I go over the other Avasthas, where I'm going to go over all of the Avasthas as an overview. I just kind of went through them very quickly, even in this class, when I talked about this Baladi, Jagradati, Deeptati, Lajittadi. And I'm going to teach a class on Sunday, June 15th, an overview of the Pancha Avasthas, the Five Avasthas Masterclass, planetary states and conditions. There's actually 35, so 35. It's actually 35 different possibilities, different Avasthas. And they're grouped into 5 categories. But there's actually, again, it's kind of like we hear about Shadbala. A lot of people use Shadbala to qualify planetary strengths, which is a different thing. But the Avasthas there's as many Avasthas as almost as there are Shadbala calculations. So I'm going to go over all of that. Again, you get lifetime access to that when you also register. And then I'm also going to be doing a full weekend course on the other 4 Avasthas later in the summer, and you get a discount on that if you wanted to also register. So again, I wanted to make this video to let you know about the Lajittadi Avasthas, whether you get a class or not. It's very interesting and fascinating course of study in Vedic astrology. It's not talked about a lot because it's technical, but I'll break it down. You just saw the statements. Again, it's a little part of Brihat Parashara Sastra, but you see how much is loaded in those statements. And again, the sentences are easy to read, but what's contained in the sentences really packs a punch. And especially when you trace it back to that cosmic spiritual origin, what it would mean to have, again, like this planet shaming another, or hunger, creating hunger in another, or creating thirst in another, or standing proudly, or agitating. These are real aspects of your character. They're aspects of your life. If I were to look at your chart like we did mine, where I had that, where you saw my chart here, where I had a couple. I have a Kshudhit and a Mudit, a Lajjita, a Mudit, a Trushit, a Kshobhit, right? I have a Garvit down here. So these are real things that I grapple with. And this is real karma, and it's subtle, but it's not. But you will recognize these as states of joy or torment in your life. So I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks a lot.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel.